This conference will now be recorded.
Sir, I think you are speaking mute.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah. Okay. Give me 1 minute. Let others join. Actually, I did not share the link to few of you. Okay. Yeah. So we are discussing about the transport request. The transport request is user specific. User specific. Every user will have they have their own transport request. Okay, their own transport request. It means every user to store the configuration that the user but TR sometimes a transport request can be used by multiple users as well. Can be used by multiple users. It is possible to use multiple users. So a TR must be released. TR transport request must be released before we move it to another server. To move to another server. Okay, who will move it? Who will move the transport request?
Basis team.
So the TR number, the transport request number should be shared to the basis team after releasing. Basis team after releasing it. After releasing. Then the basis moves the TR using RFC remote function call using RFC channels. So where do we release it? Transaction code SE09. SE09 is called transport organizer screen. Okay, to release to release, to delete the TR. Deletion, we should not do it. Normally to release, keep it like this. Okay. So yesterday we did some changes. Yesterday we did some changes in the transport request. Using the transport request, we did some changes. Go to SE09. This is a transport organizer. As a consultant, guys, as a consultant, this is the one transaction we frequently work on. Users never create transporter, right? So you better use it in, add it in favorites. Insert a transaction code. So favorites transaction, clear transport organizer, or else you give a transaction code here SC09, give your user ID, show me the TRs that are already released, show me the TRs that are modifiable, I mean yet to be released. Modifiable means yet to be released. Show me the TRs that are already released. And there are two requests, customizing request and workbench request. Customizing request and the workbench request. In what case customizing request is used and workbench request is used? Okay, you look at this, guys. So we have a application server, we have a database here. Now you are working on a client. Okay, you are working on a client 800. This are it is 100 client. There is a 101 client. There is a 200 client. Okay. Here any client specific data, client dependent data, any client dependent data. The data which is specific to the client. Okay, the data which is specific, configuration data. Customer, we dedicate a customer, a client to a customer, right? We dedicate a client to the customer. So any client dependent data which is specific to the customer is stored in customizing request. Is stored in customizing request. So the customizing request is used by who? Who will use them?
Functional consultant.
Functional consultant. Means ourselves. The customizing request is used by the functional consultants. Okay, functional consultants. Any client independent data, any client independent data. Or application, custom application, or a new application. Or object, created by developer is stored where? It is not stored in the client. Where is it stored? It is stored in the application layer, right? Okay, or indirectly you can say application layer level changes are stored in workbench request, are stored in workbench request. Okay, workbench request. So normally the workbench request is accessed by the developers, but rarely we can also create a workbench request. Some cases, very few tables, very few tables, we need to create a workbench request. Okay, but workbench request is mainly by developers, which is used by okay. First, what is a client independent data? Let's say the client number 100 I dedicated to the one customer, client number 120 I dedicated to customer B, client number 130 I dedicated to the customer C. Customer 100, let's say here Reddy's Lab data, 120 is MRF tires, 130 is Apollo Pharmaceuticals. All those companies payroll I'm running. I'm handling. My company is XYZ Software Private Limited. So this company XYZ is handling the payrolls of 3 customers. So I dedicated 3 clients to 3 different customers. So what is the example for the client dependent data? What is the example for the client independent data? Tell me. What is the example for client dependent data? What is the example for client independent data? Anyone?
Client dependent data is something that is provided by SAP, normal info type servicing.
Client dependent data or independent data?
Client dependent data.
No.
It's a
Anyone?
updation of info type.
Client dependent or client specific? Anyone? What is that you store
Uh,
in client?
Sir, the configuration data or the configuration which is in place with respective clients are client dependent data, and the ABAP ABAP objects they are client independent data.
Okay. Positions in the customer departments and the jobs. Is it client independent data?
So this is client dependent data.
Okay. This
Client
is
dependent data.
very much specific to client dependent data. So which is called, this entire data can be classified into master data, okay, transactional data, we'll discuss the difference, and customizing data is client dependent. Okay, what you enter in IMG, customizing data means the data that you enter in IMG. Let me put it here. Customer data ante IMG tables. Most of them. SAP EG access. Okay. What is client independent data? Anyone? Example?
Any applications made
the person.
by developers. Input and created by developers.
See, what is that something common for all the three customers? Assume all the three customers are in India. What is that something common for all the three customers?
Process. Process service tax.
Okay. Only service tax. You're going to learn payroll. You should tell income tax first.
Income tax, professional tax, and statutory components.
Okay. These slabs, income tax slabs. Is it different from client to client?
No, sir. It is same.
So there are certain tables which are cross client tables. So if you are maintaining the data at a cross client tables, this this data is stored in a workbench request. So if I maintain the data here, this is accessed by here, this is accessed by 120, this is accessed from 130. When I maintain a client dependent tables, that data is here. Okay. And also the applications, any programs that are created, any application objects, ABAP programming objects like a screen or a table or a program or a report, these are not restricted to the client. These are client independent. These applications can be used. These applications can be used in any client. It's only a data that is different between client and client. But the program, the way the program works, the way the program processes the data, can perform the calculations is same. So the ABAPers use this workbench request, and some cases, and which are very rare cases, we will be using a workbench request. But 98% of the times we use a customizing request only, because we handle with a customizing client specific, we handle the client specific data. Okay. There are 2 or 3 cases we go for workbench requests where the holiday calendars, changing some tax slabs. For example, let me show you that. I can, if I know the table, I can directly go to SM30. Forget about this. Okay. What application I'm accessing? First, I'll show you a table. If I go to this table, this is a client specific data. Okay. How do I recognize it? If I go to this, now look at the message. Look at the message. What does it say?
Sir, message is not appearing, sir.
The table is cross client.
The table is cross client, right? So we deal with most of the tables. We deal with customizing request, which is the client specific data. This type of tables are very rare. So when I go to this table and make any changes, for example, if I make some changes here, okay, and I click on save, what does it ask me? Look at this, workbench request, right? Because this is a client independent data. It asks me the workbench request. Now when I go to some table which is not a client independent, let's say this table, okay, I maintain some change here, and when I save it, what does it ask me? Customizing request. Clear? The tables we work on, 98% of the tables, 99 you can say, are customizing tables, customizing request. Clear? Okay, so this is the differentiation between client dependent data, client independent data. Okay, so client independent means application, okay, above developments. So all these are stored in workbench request. Okay, so now let's say you are done with the configuration changes. You are done with the configuration. You need to release it. You need to release it. Okay, to release it, easy access. To release it, go to easy access, give transaction code SC09. Now, modifiable request. Show me what are the modifiable requests. Display them. Just go to SC09 transaction code. Give user ID. By default, your user ID appears here and display. So there are two modifiable requests: customizing request and workbench request. We are not dealing with the workbench request now. Customizing request. If you see, these are the requests that you have created yesterday, right? And it shows you what is that you have changed using this request. In IMG, you have gone to employee groups table and you maintained an entry or text changes. This is the entry you created, right? If you remember yesterday in 800 client. Okay. In employee subgroup, what is that you changed? A1 is the one entry that you created. It shows you clearly what are the changes that you have done in this transports. These many tables I changed yesterday using this transport request. Okay, using this transport request, you can expand and see them. Don't double click on it. If you double click on it, it takes you to a different screen. Okay, just go back. Let's say I'm done with these changes. Let's say I'm done with these changes. I want to move this transport to the basis team. I want to give it to the basis team for moving it to the quality. What we have to do, we need to release it. These are not released. That's why it is showing as a modifiable request. Clear? Modifiable request. So how do I release it? You should use this truck symbol to release it. Okay, to release you need to use the truck symbol. So how do you release it? Select, keep the cursor on the transport, okay, and click on release. See, you get a message, the referring task 45 not released. This one, to release the TR, to release the transport, okay, to release the TR, So the same thing you need to follow. Okay, see, select it. First task, customizing task must be released. If there are multiple tasks created, it is a case where one transport is used by multiple consultants. One transport can be used by multiple consultants. I'm going to show you that case as well now. Select it and release it directly. Keep the cursor and then click on truck symbol and then release the transport request. Again select it, click on transport. Clear? Select it and click on transport. It is released. Now you see it in a released mode. So take this number, 10-digit number, and give it to the base system. They will verify it whether you have released it or not. If it's not released, they'll come back and ask you. Okay, they'll verify this. Clear? So you need to give this number, not task number, transport request number, give to the base system and tell him to move to quality. Move to quality. Done. So suppose I release this also, and this one also released, and give this number, 10-digit number. Move this 10-digit number to the base system. Now there are no any modifiable requests. There are no any modifiable customizing requests, right? Okay. So what happens when you go to IMG and save something? Anyone? I'm going to customizing screens. Okay. Same, the table I showed you yesterday. Global settings and personal management. In plan version maintenance. Any table, random table I'm just picking. Okay, what is that we do with the plan version doesn't matter for now. Clear? I go here and I make some changes here. Let's say /AI create test. Right? The moment I click on save. The moment I click on save, what happens?
Generates transport request.
It generates a transport request. Okay. Transport request. So what you need to do? What do you need to do here?
We need to give a short description.
Create request. Short description create.
Create.
Click on create and give a description. Or else the other way is you have gone to SC09 transaction. Right? You have gone to SC09 transaction. It is not only releasing, it is not only for releasing the transports, but also create. You have a create option here. Which one do you want to create? Workbench request I want to create. Okay, workbench request I want to create. Save OK. Save OK. Now it is the same thing, right? Okay. So let's say the country and the module and the phase of the project, realization, and what are you configuring? Let's say I'm just testing the transport. Whatever you are configuring, now you are the owner of this transport, but I want to allow multiple users to use the same transport. I want to allow, let's say, HR user 1. I want to allow HR user 1. I want to allow HR user 2. One is working on OM, another was working on PA, and the one is working on payroll. And all of them, your team lead will create a transport request and give the access to you all. Save it. See? Single transport, but three tasks created. When this user makes some changes, it is saved in this task. When this user makes some changes, it is saved in this task. And user 1 makes some changes, it is saved in this task. For example, the same thing now. You go to this table, plan version table, okay, and make some changes here. And I click on save. Now what should I do? Anyone? Should I click on create or should I click on drop down?
You need to click on drop down.
Drop down, sir.
Drop down. Why drop down?
Because there
You
are
already
multiple
created.
users.
Yeah.
We have already created multiple users. So in that one,
Yeah.
we'll select who was the person.
Yes. So no, we created transport request already. It is available. So instead of creating a new one, use the existing one. Use the existing one. Go to this and drop down it. Okay. I am clicking on the request. It will come here. Double click on that request. It will come here. Or else click on own request. It shows you what are the requests we created already. Okay. The same thing, either drop down or own request if the transport is already available, and save it. I'm done with the changes and I want to move to the quality. What should I do? Those who already learned SAP HCM, be silent for the initial sessions. You will get your time in payroll, don't worry. So those who are freshers, answer me. What should I do to release it? Anyone?
Then SE01.
Yes. So go to release the TR, SC09. Okay. So EG access. Okay. Click on display. So go to easy access, SC09, click on, I don't want more workbench request now, and untick it. Modifiable and display. See, which user actually made the changes? This user. Automatically, I did not select 57, I selected 54. So the configuration is stored. What is it? Plan version creation. Which plan version? /A. I created a plan version /A. Okay. So it shows here. So if I want to release it, okay, all the users, these three users must release their tasks. They must finish their work and they must release their tasks. Okay. After that, release the main task. Actual owner of this transport will be releasing the main task, not these users. These users can release their tasks only, not the main transport. The main transport is released by the owner. who created it. Then that owner will be responsible to move this to the quality. So it doesn't appear again when you want to make some changes in the configuration. If you want to make any changes in the configuration, go back to SPRO, IMG screen, or any table. You take any table or the same previous table only. Personal management, personal administration, so global settings in personal management. Any table that appears, OM table or PA table or finance table, whatever the table, you go there and then make some changes. Okay, I'm changing this and click on save. So what should I do now? Do we have a modifiable request? No. So you create transport in SE09 and use it here, or you can create a transport by here itself directly. Yeah, you can create a transport here itself directly. Then you create a transport here. So he is the owner of the transport. So you give a text description. For now I'm giving a test and save it. Okay, so if you want to release the transport, SC09. So first question, which data is stored in a transport request? Easy access data or IMG data?
IMG data.
IMG, anything you enter in IMG tables. And what is the data called?
Customizing.
Customizable
Configuration
request.
data or customizing data?
Customizing data.
Both are same. Configuration data or customizing data, from the functional point of view, both are same.
Both are same.
Okay, so customizing request and workbench request difference.
Customizing table is independent, client dependent, workbench is client independent.
Client independent. So the functional constraint normally use the both. Okay, but mainly 98%, 99% customizing data. We deal with the customizing data, and cross client data very rare, very rare. Okay, so we may have authorization for workbench, we may not have authorization for workbench. If you do not have authorization for a workbench request, using the workbench request, you need to raise it, okay, for certain exceptional cases, okay, and then use it. But generally we do not have authorizations to workbench request by default. Okay, so the workbench request, see, these client dependent tables are not used by the developers. They may use for testing, but they do not normally use them in the application building. Okay, always the developers use workbench request only. They don't use client customizing request. Developers, it is always workbench request. Okay, which is anything that is independent of the client is a workbench request. It could be a data or a new application building, anything. Okay, every transport must be released before we move to the quality or production. And to release the transport, every task of the transport must be released by the users. Okay, and we share that number, 10-digit number, the ID of the transport, to the base system for the transport movement. So by the time you complete the implementation, you will have minimum 20 transports to the 60, 70, 80 transports will be there. If more number of issues raised by the end users in quality, you come back to the development and make the changes with the new transport and move it. Again, he raises one more ticket, you come back to the development, make the changes and move it. So this cycle will be repeated until the last issue is resolved. So minimum, I would say 50 transports will be there. If you are the best at understanding this, configuration and designing, then you may end up with 20 or 30 transports creation. But every time once the transport is approved by the end users, move them to the production. Don't move all the transports at a single shot. Clear? If there is some change you have done and it is approved, move it to the production system, so that the transports will be in a right order. Okay, and never keep more than one modifiable request. It's like if you are working a 3 issues parallelly. Okay, the generally the right practice is for the 3 issues, 3 transports creation is the right practice. But in hurry, some people, okay, they club all the 3 issues configuration in a single transport and move it. Some people, they're cautious. Okay, they work on one issue at a time. They keep one modifiable request, and after releasing, they work on a second issue. Okay, so that is the right practice. But if you create 3 transports and you have a 3 modifiable request, you need to be careful while you are saving the data in the transport. You actually think that you are saving it in a transport 1, but you are actually changing it in a transport 2. So there is a transport dependency. When you move TR1, it doesn't work, and you have to move TR2 also, and the TR2 contains some other data, not just our configuration. So you need to be careful when you're in a support project or when you're working on multiple issues at a time. Make sure each issue has a separate transport request. Okay, so that is about the transport request. Okay, and there is much more about the transport request we will discuss later once you get used to the screens. Now one important point is every transaction is accessed using SAP HCM access. Every transaction is accessible using SAP HCM access. In IMG, when you are in IMG, suppose you give some, it doesn't work. Okay, so what you have to do is you need to come to EG access screen and give a transports, right? Transactions. You give a transaction code, or else if you are in IMG screen, let's say, or any other screen or any other transaction codes. See, right now I have one session open. Right now I have only one session open, and I want to go to another transaction code. I want to access another transaction code. One way is open another EG access screen and use it. Clear? Open another session and give a transaction code. Give a transaction code. The other way is put /o as a prefix to the transaction code. Okay, suppose I want to go to PA30 screen. PA30 is the transaction code. Give a prefix /o to the transaction code PA30. What it does, it keeps the current session as it is, and it creates a new session with PA30. It creates a new session with a PA30. So both the sessions are there. Okay, or else if you give a /n and PA30, what it means, close the current session and open a new session. /n is close the current session and open a new session. You see only one session active. Suppose I want to go to some transaction SPRO. Give /o SPRO. What does it mean?
It takes to the IMG screen.
IMG
Give
screen.
the current session and open the SPR in IMG screen.
Yes. I give a slash by mistake. Okay, fine. Look at this, /o, okay, /n ex, exit, log off. Okay, log off. That's it. You are logged off from the system. /nex. Don't use a /nex. If you use nex, you are not saving any data and you are exiting it. Suppose you are, some pages you are doing something and those pages will be exit directly. When you use this log off, it will ask you at least, there is unsaved data, do you want to log off or not? But if I use a nex, completely exit from the session. Okay, and in every system you will see the system information here. What is the user ID you are accessing? What is the client you are working on? What is the system number you are working on? Okay, you better display client number and the system. You think you are in 100, you may be actually changing 200 client. If you are responsible for 2 clients at a time, you think you are in 100, but you are actually changing 200 client. Okay, so that's the reason. Keep the system open, keep the screen, system open. So you will have some, you be cautious about this screens, or else use colors. Use the colors. So in development, you keep development screen in one color, okay, quality in one color, and production in one color. So then you will be able to recognize that you are working in development client by looking at the color of the screen. Okay, by looking at the color of the screen. So you can change the color here. Options, we have a visual design, color settings and the font settings and the brand settings, etc. Okay, see, I log in into another client, which is 000. It is the global client. Do you see any difference between this screen and this screen 800? No difference, right? When you remove the favorites. So which client are you in? How do you know? Looking at this. Clear. So keep this displayed. Okay. So it is important when you are working on a multiple customers. You are handling multiple clients. Okay. So every screen is a program in the background. What is the program name? And what is the transaction code for getting into this screen? T code for getting into this screen. Response time, interpretation time, this is other data. Done? Is that clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
So have you gone to the info tab screens, info tab videos?
Yes, sir.
We didn't got the info tab videos, sir.
No, sir, not yet. Today we will check, sir.
Okay. So there are 3 videos. Who did not receive the videos?
I didn't receive, sir.
Rajshekhar, how
Sir,
come
I
you missed?
also not received, sir.
Hmm?
Sir, I also not received, sir. Rajni.
Who is this? Rajnish.
Yes,
1
sir.
minute. Mhm. 1 minute, guys. Text me your mail IDs in GoToMeeting chat. Later I'll add you in a groups.
Sir, is this session 10, 11, and 12? Is this session 10, 11, and 12, right?
11 and 12.
11 and 12.
11, 12 means?
Oh, in the drive, you shared the session 11 and 12. Is this?
No.
No, sir. I did not receive this.
Don't know where these introduction sessions. I transferred to you from.
We received from Learn HCM.
Pooja, you also mention your mail ID here now. You guys complete these 3 videos. Tomorrow sessions will be this, and tomorrow onwards your session will be at 8 o'clock. Okay.
Sir, my email is still missing, sir. Rajnish, sir.
Who?
Sir, Rajnish Kumar, sir. My
I just
email
entered.
is still missing. Enter.
I just shared, you know.
Perhaps. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you listen to Akash. I will add you in a group so that you will receive them regularly without.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Catch you tomorrow, guys. You must finish these 3 input videos. Okay. So it will be easy for you to understand tomorrow's session. Catch you tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.